Hello everyone. I'm Dr. Anjali Srivastava and this is my YouTube channel. Adarsh Alia, I'm a retired zoology professor and I have created this channel to help the students who want to learn. Specifically at present, we are concentrating on the zoological aspects as we have already seen mainly of the topics given by the students of MSc semester 1 and some MSc semester 4 topics also. Today's topic is colonial protozoa, an extended part of my last class that is we have seen on the colonial protists. As I have already mentioned, the original topic that I have been requested by the students was colonial protozoa only. But when I have started gathering the material and started the preparation for the colonial protozoa, I have found more relevant the term colonial protest, and then only I have thought that we will take a short lecture separately for colonial protozoa. The colonial protist we have seen that mainly includes all the microscopic organisms which are truly having a cell-like body organization with the organelles, cell organelles, and uh, those those are have been kept in a group that is said to be the that is said to be the protist, which don't have any clad system or evolutionary clad दैट वी हैव सीन प्रोटिस्ट जब हम लोग कर रहे थे तो हमने देखा कि प्रोटिस्ट के जितने मेंबर्स हैं ज्यादातर क्लासिफिकेशन किया जाता है सिमिलर कैटेगरीज पर प्रोटिस्ट वो ग्रुप है जो इंक्लूड करता है ऐसे कैटेगरीज ऐसे लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स को जिनका क्लैडिस्टिक्स बहुत क्लियर नहीं है so the same is with the colonial protozoans. So let us confine today on colonial protozoans. The protozoans, the protozoans are the individuals that we have seen when we were doing the classification or the systematics, that then we have seen that protozoans are a group which are now considered as a part of the protist, and the animal kingdom, it is said to be that it is in true sense the animal kingdom starts with the metazoans. So however the case is, whatever the case is, the protozoans are a cellular or single cell protist occupying the all type of habits, mostly the moist habits including freshwater, marine, and even the soil. So all type of habit and habitats the protozoans show. Mostly they are the free living, but some forms are sessiles and some are parasites also. They are mostly solitary but living in huge number. जब भी protozoans को ऑब्जर्व किया जाता है तो सिंगल प्रोटोजोआ सॉलिटरी प्रोटोजोआ हैं, बट वो दिखते ऐसे हैं जैसे कॉलोनी में ही हैं क्योंकि वो बहुत ह्यूज नंबर में अपीयर होते हैं. However, we are here today concerned with the colonial protozoans which are truly living in a colony. वो एक साथ रहते हैं, एक मेंबर की तरह रहते हैं, and that is called as the colonial forms. And these colonial forms specifically, though the protists that don't have very significant cladistics in the evolutionary tree, but these colonial protozoans or they have the significant cladistics in the evolutionary or the phylogenetic relationship. The protozoans very generally have been classified into four rather major classes or subphylum. Some of the taxonomists consider them as the subphyla. That is, first is the mastigophora or the flagellata, where the organ of movement is flagellum. The plural is flagella. Then ciliata, the movement by cilia, the singular is cilium, and sarcodina, moving with the help of the pseudopodia, the singular is pseudopodium. And the last class that includes the parasitic protozoans. They don't have very specific locomotory organs, but they show to very less extent the movement, and that with the help of the myonym fibrils. So this is the protozoans. Now the protozoans, as we have seen in the introductory slide, these are the colonial protozoans. Uh, this is the phytomastigophora, or the flagellata group, in which the plant-like individuals are included, and this is the animal-like individuals are included. These are the animal-like colonial protozoans, which are collectively called placed in a group that is called as the choanoflagellates. However, all the choanoflagellates are not colonial. There are three specific families of the colonial choanoflagellates. This is the Codonsigna, then Protyrospongia, and Acanthocylida is there. The three groups are there in this group. That is the Acanthicida, the Crosspedida, and the Codoncida. These are the three main groups. Codonosigidi. These are the three main groups of the colonial choanoflagellates, whereas these are the colonial phytomastigophorans that include these. There are so many. These are all phytomastigophorans. How out of these, the colonial phytomastigophorans are the gonium, then Facus, then Cyanura, then these are the Serratium, then Dinobrium. These are certain Pandorina, then Gonium. These are the colonial phytomastigophores. So this is the very introductory part of the protozoans and the colonial protozoans. Now let us see the colonial protozoans. The evolutionary history we have already seen that these colonial protozoans, they have established three types of three hypotheses have been established based on the evolution of the multicellularity from the unicellularity or single cell or acellularity, that is endosymbiotic relationship, then the colonial flagellate hypothesis, and then common ancestor hypothesis. These all we have seen in the last class when we were doing the colonial protists. Now let us emphasize or concentrate on the colonial protozoans that include two major groups, that is the phytomastigophora. That we have already seen that this the protozoans which are included, which are showing the colonial habit, are mainly rather solely included from the group Mastigophora or the flagellata. Flagellata group में ही देखा गया है कि जितने individuals हैं, जितने भी colonial protozoans observe किए गए हैं, they belong to the flagellata group. That is, their locomotory organ is the flagellum, which may be single. Mostly it is single, but in some forms it is two in number, and then those flagellates are kept under the sub class of the class Mastigophora as dinoflagellates. Now let us come to the flagellated protozoa. The flagellated protozoa, which include the colonial protozoans, are belong to the Mastigophora only, and that Mastigophora has been broadly divided into two groups: the phytoflagellates, that is the Phytomastigophora, and the zooflagellates under the class Zoomastigophora. The phyto, as the name as the term says, phyto, it is the plant-like, bearing the chlorophyll. They are the autotrophs, and they synthesize their own food. The colonial forms here are the Parenyma, Volvox, Gonium, that we have just seen in the very beginning of the slide. Then the colonial Zoomastigophora are mainly the choanoflagellates, which are mainly represented by a group that is the Pterospongia. We have seen in the last class also Now let us see one by one. First, let us see the flagellated Phytomastigophora. The group is represented by a very brilliant example, that is the volvox. Volvox is the is a colonial uh, Phytomastigophora, but its position has been questioned now. According to some of the taxonomists, this volvox is not kept now in the phylum Protozoa or in the group Protozoa. Rather, they have been isolated in form of the in a group of the plant-like uh, algae, and they are called now as the green algae, whereas certain brown and golden alga are also included in this group, which represent the colonial forms. The most brilliant example of Phytomastigophora or the algal group is the volvox. If we see its morphology, its characteristics, most these volvox are colonial, living in groups, and these groups, whether it is Phytomastigophora, whether it is Zoomastigophora, the groups of or the members of a colony have been referred in the Zoomastigophora as a zooad, and these zooids are the number of these zooids are very specific for the colonies. Now, let's start with the Phytomastigophora, the volvox. This is a volvox colony. These are the two types of Phytomastigophora. This is one Cenobian colony, and this is a volvox colony. If we see the morphology of the volvox, if the volvox is, as we have seen, it is also commonly called as green algae. If we see a single structure of a single member of this is suppose this is the colony of the volvox, including this is the gelatinous cell wall. Outer covering is the thick green colored gelatinous cell wall. This is the cell wall of the colony. Sorry. This is the cell wall of the colony, and this is gelatinous in consistency, and there are certain groups of the colonies in the lower part. This is the reproductive, these are the gonodial cells or the gonidia. This is a volvox colony. Now here are the periphery is occupied by the non-reproductive cells. These are the non-reproductive cells. And if we see one of such cell, the structure is like this. This is a single cell having two flagella, sorry. This is the two flagella. Then there is one eye spot. Here is the chloroplast. This is one nucleus. When we will see the choanoflagellate, very much resemble the structures, very much resembling, except for certain contractile vacuoles. So this is the structure of a single cell of the volvox colony. This is the volvox colony. This is a very rough diagram. You can see in details here. This is the periphery of the colony is occupied by the cells which are proliferating or asexually reproducing continuously producing the new members. The new members, or they come together forming the dotted synovial colonies here, and this is the volvox and this is the synovium. In both the colonies, the structure is more or less, and the colony formation and the the morphological as well as anatomical behaviors are very much resembling. The lower part or below the equator or at the equator are the asexually reproducing vegetating part, which together start forming the new colonies. These are the daughter colonies which come out when the colony becomes over matured, and they are scattered, and they select the new places and germinate as the new colony. So this is the wall box. The structural details you can say you can take from these slides for your notes. This is a green hollow sphere having different diameters, uh, uh, having typical features like of a cell, that is like the chloroplast, then nucleus, then mitochondria may be present or not, but mitochondria is specifically present in choanoflagellates because they are much more active colonial protozoans. Then in wall box, the reproduction is very much, when we will see choanoflagellate, we will see that the reproductive system in the colonial protozoans are very much alike. The reproduction is mostly asexual, and sometimes these reproductive forms only they become modified, or they show some modifications and convert into the macro and micro gametes behaving as the sexual gametes or the reproductive gametes. The asexual reproduction occurs by repeated mitotic division, and that takes in the usual reproductive method is the asexual reproduction in volvox as well as in choanoflagellate. I'm going on giving you comparative details because the lecture will become too long. If we will see separately volvox and the same characters, we will repeat doing the choanoflagellates. So the asexual reproduction is by the vegetative, it is mostly vegetative, or it is by splitting into the mitotical divisions. Then if the sphere becomes, if the number of cells becomes so much, then they start forming the spheres within the colony, forming daughter colonies similar to the parent colony. Several daughter colonies formed inside the parent before they escape by rupture of the parent, and thus the new individuals develop. New individual colony is developed. In sexual reproduction, however, there is something different situation. सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन ज्यादातर स्प्रिंग में होता है, विंटर में होता है, और इस दौरान कुछ सेल्स माइटोटिक डिवीजन से ज्यादातर माइटोटिक वेजिटेटिव डिवीजन से एसेक्सुअली रिप्रोड्यूस करते हैं ये फॉर्म्स, बट समटाइम्स ड्यूरिंग द स्प्रिंग और द advent of the winter season, some of the cells they retract their flagella, and they become acting as behaving as a macro or micro gametes. Some of them are larger in size, they behave as macro gametes behaving as ovum or ova, and the micro gametes are the smaller in size and they behave as the spermatozoa. During this sexual reproduction, this is the life cycle. The asexual and sexual reproduction are in this way alternatively done during the winter season. The asexual reproduction is here, that is done by the formation of the daughter colonies. During the sexual reproduction, these macro and micro gametes are formed by the retraction of the flagella of the individuals, the colonies, and this egg and the sperm, they unite together, they form the zygote, and these zygote they develop a cyst-like structure and they can survive their in this encysted condition. They can survive the winter, they can survive the unfavorable condition, developing into a mature asexual organism in the spring. When the spring comes, when the condition becomes favorable, they become germinate in new forms, and in this way the asexual and sexual reproductions are may occur alternatively in these two forms. So this is the details of the sexual behavior of the wall box after fertilization. Zygote secretes a hard shell or the cyst, And the asexual, a number of asexual generations may follow during the summer before sexual reproduction again occurs. So this is about volvox. Then comes the choanoflagellates, that is the zoomastigophora. The animal-like colonial protozoans is represented by the zoomastigophora, and the most vibrant example of the zoomastigophorans is the choanoflagellate group. In the zoomastigophora, there is a group that forms the choanoflagellate group, in which are the colonial as well as solitary forms are there. The most vibrant or the most important choanoflagellate that has got an evolutionary significance is the pterospongia. This is the structure of pterospongia, comprising of, these are the different members of this pterospongia, looking like, each member looking like a single collared cell structure. This is very interestingly, each pterospongia, if you see the single structure, it is having a single cell body with a collar-like structure formed of numerous microvilli in one family, that is in which the pterospongia belongs. This lorica-like structure is here. One single flagellum is here. This is the cellular body, nucleus, and mitochondria are here. This is the body, this is the flagellum, and this is the collar. Or on the basis of this structure, this is a single cell of this choanoflagellate colony. The structure is visible here. Now, such colonies, they remain together attached with each other, forming a colony which is, this is the pterospongia is a sessile form. It remains attached to the substratum with the help of stalk. This is the stalk. With the help of this stalk, this colony remains attached with a substratum. So this is a choanoflagellate group of free-living unicellular flagellates. This is the structure movement of flagellum creates water current, and all the physiological activities of the digestion, excretion, respiration, as well as the dispersal of the gametes during the sexual reproduction, all are done by through the water current, and that water current is created by the movement of the flagellum together with the microvilli of the collar cells, and trap bacteria and detritus against the collar of microvilli where these foodstuffs are engulfed. And the method of feeding, as we have seen already, is the filter feeding. This is the feeding provides a critical link within the global carbon cycle of trophic levels. These are the volvox is the autotroph, showing the synthesizing food synthesizing process or step, whereas these choanoflagellates are the heterotrophs, that is, they absorb, they take the synthesized food, and this is the diagrammatic representation of a single choanoflagellate cell. That is, this is the flagellum, this is the lorica made up of microvilli, and this is the basal bodies. Two basal bodies are there from which arises this flagellum. This is the nucleus, and this is the cell body. So this is a single choanoflagellate. Such choanoflagellate, they show various types of habits and habitats. They are mostly free swimming, but some of the choanoflagellates, like the pterospongia, they are the sessile forms that they remains fixed to the substratum. Now, this is the structure of the choanoflagellum. That is the electron microscopic structure of a choanoflagellate single cell. These are the mitochondria. Then this is the nucleus. Then this is the Golgi complex attached with the nucleus. These are the food vacuoles. This is the substratum. This is cell body. This is the nucleus, and this is the lorical microvilli forming in form of a basket that is called as the lorica. And this through this lorica, how the water flows. This is the flowing of the, this is the direction of the water flowing. The water comes through the by the beating of this flagellum. This is the flagellum. It creates current, and this current extracts or draws the water current. This water current flows through this entire cell and then goes out, passing in between these lorical microvilli filaments. And in that, during that process, the food particles are entangled in these microvilli. So this is the detailed structure of the choanoflagellate cell, a single choanoflagellate cell. This is the details of the basket complex. The house is called lorica. These details you can take from these points. Now, this is the evolutionary significance of a single choanoflagellate cell. You can say each single choanoflagellate cell, if you remember, it resembles a colloid cell or a choanocyte of the porifera, showing the evolutionary or phylogenetic significance that might be that that shows the flagellate hypothesis of development of multicellular organisms. That is, this single choanoflagellate, such single choanoflagellates or such members of a choanoflagellate family, which is having a typical structure of a colloid cell, they may have accumulated, they might have gathered together to form the endodermis layer or the colloid cell layer of the porifera, showing a connecting link stage. Now, this is a sperm, might be human sperm, that is the sperm of higher form, and this is also showing very much resemblances or the homology with a typical choanoflagellate cell, again showing some embryonic evolutionary or phylogenetic relationship between these choanoflagellate protozoans and the higher forms. Now, this is the life cycle of the choanoflagellates. Again, like the volvox, only they grow vegetatively, or asexual reproduction is the main method of reproduction there. The reproductive life cycle of choanoflagellate remain to be elucidated. It is not very much elucidated yet, but a lot of inventions, a lot of discoveries, a lot of observations are still coming into light. However, the sexual reproductive phase is again like volvox. It is limited in particular periods of time. Some of the flagellated cells, they become they retract their flagellar structure, start behaving as the sexual gametes, producing the male and the female reproductive gametes that fuse assisted and get germinated in favorable condition, alternating the sexual, numerous asexual phases with few sexual phases. So, however, the sexual phase of the sexual life cycle of the choanoflagellates is not very much studied yet. So this is about the morphology, anatomy, reproduction, respiration, digestion, excretion, etc. of the choanoflagellates as well as the volvox, that is mainly occurring here along with the water current or the atmosphere and the main cellular body, in between by the process of diffusion or the osmosis. The required elements are taken and unrequired elements are thrown outside. So this is about the colonial protozoans in general. Now this is the ecological condition, that is the distribution, habit and habitat. They are found worldwide, Arctic to tropics country areas, occupying both pelagic and benthic zones. Many species are hypothesized to be cosmopolitan on global scale. Now, a number of species such as genus Pterospongia form simple colonies, planktonic clumps resembling a miniature cluster of grapes in which each cell of colony is flagellated And this is mostly the most significant stage or representation of the development or evolution of the multicellularity from these unicellular organisms. Now, this is the classification of conoflagellates. There are mainly three families have been identified of this order of conoflagellata, and somewhere it is there. This group is referred as a class, somewhere as order, and these important families are of the colonial forms of the conoflagellates, the Codonocidae, Salpingicidae, and Acanthocidae. This Acanthocidae is playing a very important role as the pterospongia, a connecting link between the unicellular and multicellular organism belongs to this group. And this group, the characteristic of this group is bearing a lorica-like structure, whereas the Salpingicidae family, the members of the Salpingicidae family, they remain encircled with a thick theca-like structure that is also called as a periplast. So this is the classification of the conoflagellates, and then it is the phylogenetic relationship that we have already discussed when we were doing the colonial protists. They are having uh, um, the relationship with the on the basis of the genetic analysis of 16S and 18S ribosomal RNA and DNA, they have shown interrelationship and character polarity with the conoflagellate within the conoflagellates as well as with the multicellular organisms, the very primitive multicellular organism that is represented by the porifera or the sponges. This is the homology of how these colonial sponges may have converted into this is the sponge and this is the gastrodermis or the colloid layer of the sponge. This conversion, this transformation may have been taken in this way. This is the colonial pterospongia, this is a sponge, and this is the sponge colloid cell layer that is forming the gastrodermis or the endodermis. And this is the phylogenetic relationship of these two groups. This is the conoflagellate group, which has given rise to these metazoans one by one, developing into the different groups. And if you can go through this description, these circles of fully black, fully gray, then half gray, half white part of its part is black, and these conditions are showing the multicellular, different cellular and multicellularity of the individual. So with this ends the colonial protozoan. I think in these two classes you must have got the sufficient material for your full answer at a PG level. Still, if you have any explanation you want, of course, I know it is a vast chapter, cannot be concluded in short time. So there are a number of facts to be illustrated. If you want to be illustrated, the hypothesis of the common ancestor hypothesis, endosymbiotic relationship, or this the colonial flagellated hypothesis, all these things, if you want to be elaborated or discussed in details, you just write in the comment box. Otherwise, I think enough material I have given you on the colonial protist or as well as colonial protozoans. So do like, subscribe, and share my videos, and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified my videos or my classes, upcoming classes. Thank you so much.